I'm excited to have you here for another episode of Things Jesus Said. And today we get to look at a passage in Matthew that is very compelling. If you like my content, please feel free to subscribe using the link below, or check out some of my other content or some of the episodes preceding this one, which we're going to jump right into right now. Matthew chapter 8, verse 7, Jesus says, "I will heal him." A centurion approached Jesus, asked him to heal one of his servants, and Jesus says, "I will heal him." Let's explore that comment today together. This is a parallel passage to a passage we'll also find in Luke. And in Luke chapter 7, the verse is very similar. Jesus heals a leper, and then he's walking along, and a messenger comes to him. And the messenger says, this is who I come from, and I have this message, and we need to see this servant be healed. Matthew abbreviates this story for us, and we just see it, the messengers that the centurion sent. We hear this said as the centurion himself. And the centurion is a very cool gentleman. In fact, today I'd like to do a comparison I'm going to call a tale of two leaders. First, we have the centurion. The centurion is a big deal. He's an officer in the army that is occupying Palestine, that has the Jews, Jesus' people, subdued. And this officer of the army in the occupying force of Palestine goes up to Jesus, falls down, and we see him literally begging Jesus, calling him Lord, to save his servant. A crazy thing that stands out right from the beginning is that a centurion cared about his servant. This wasn't usual in those days. Obviously, this was a culture where slavery was common, and slavery is not a good thing, and it's never condoned in the Bible. But to see someone that cares about their slave in the secular world, the Roman world, is an astonishing thing. So this centurion stands out to me as a great man that's maybe ahead of his time. And so he goes to Jesus, and he recognizes Jesus' authority. He calls him Lord, and he begs him to save his servant. Another way he recognizes Jesus' authority here is when Jesus offers to go to the man's house to save and heal his servant. The man says, "You're not worthy to come into my house." This is a crazy flip script. A Jew wouldn't go into a Roman's house for fear of being ceremonially defiled. So this Roman centurion was familiar with Jewish laws, knew that the Jews thought he was a dog and they'd be defiled by his house. But instead, in humility, he says, "Jesus, my house is not worthy for you to step foot in it. You can heal my servant from right here and right now." A great leader. A great leader who recognizes Jesus' authority, approaches Jesus in a humble manner, and a great leader who cares about his servant. And then we have Jesus, the other great leader. Jesus had just completed a miracle. You'd think his quota be done for the day, but as soon as he's asked to heal someone else, Jesus says, "I will heal him." I love that Jesus is accessible instead of being aloof. I think we have a lot we can learn from both of these leaders. I wonder how many of our pastors could be characterized by these centurions' characteristics. Recognizing Jesus' authority, caring about the people under them, and begging God to help their people. Or maybe how many of our pastors can be characterized like Jesus, who is accessible to anyone who comes to him. I once knew a pastor who had to have an office renovation, so his office was temporarily moved upstairs. But he liked the upstairs so much because no one knew he was there, no one ever bothered him, that he never came back down. He decided to keep his office upstairs. Jesus was not that kind of a savior. Jesus was accessible to people at his own hurt. And what's funny is the Pharisees did not want Jesus to do those things. And although Jesus was not what the Pharisees wanted him to be, he was who the people needed him to be. I'd like to close this episode with a quote by Charles Haddon Spurgeon. Let me pull it up on the screen.